PLD PJ Campbell. Two mediocre white dudes on film. Because frankly, we know you don't have enough of that in your life. So we're here to give you more. And without further ado, here are two mediocre white dudes on film.
I always love when we see numbers. Every time. I'm going to bring it up every single time we start doing this.
Every single time we start, we see the numbers, and we have to talk about it. That's from Riverside, the site we use. And I actually want to give a shout-out to Riverside and their tech crew. I use Riverside at .fm, studio to record, and I download from there, and I re-upload it to all my various podcasts. And this week, we had an issue. We almost had a very bad issue. In that I got back, we downloaded our...
I have issues every week. I don't know what you're talking about.
We didn't even introduce ourselves yet. Should I introduce ourselves first, then talk about it? I probably should.
I'm PJ. That's PLD. He's a technologically dumb.
Wow.
idiot.
I mean, I don't know if I go that far, but maybe not.
I mean, look, it's not inaccurate.
Fine.
Is what I'm saying. I didn't say you're an actual idiot. I said you're a technologically dumb idiot. Look, I'm sorry that you're older than I am, and technology is hard for you.
BJ's a little feisty after seeing this movie, I think. It's got him a little fired up.
I have thoughts. I have thoughts. This is not aimed at you, Paul, but it's also aimed at you.
I think you're lashing out, and I'm in the crossfire. Okay.
It's true. It's true.
Fair enough. We'll get into it. I'll finish my shout out.
So what happened? What happened here?
Is that every week Riverside records two separate audio tracks, which I get to download and then mix together, and so I can make it sound good and everything else. And last week, during our Conjuring episode, which you have probably already listened to at this point, hopefully, we took a break in the middle of it. And I shut my camera off, and supposedly when I put the camera back on, it never fully connected back. So when I downloaded the audio, I saw an hour and 47 minutes from PJ's feed and an hour from my feed. And I went, that does not match up. So I was ready to give up almost already.
No.
Like, fuck, we're going to have to do this again, aren't we? But I was like, I'll throw it out there. I threw it out there, and I think it was Amir who got back to me. Said, well, you could try this, you can try this. And he went through a couple of different things, gave me some hope, and took it away, gave me some hope, took it away. And finally, when we couldn't recover the file itself, he said, well, you can always record the audio backup, which is not ideal, but it works. And what the audio backup is just basically the raw recording of both of us together. So in a way, I didn't even have to remix it, everything. I had to bring it down. It's not quite as good because there's definitely a glitch to it. I have to make sure it didn't. I couldn't play with it as much as I do. But it was the full recording.
That's fair.
And that's much better than us having to do it over. Because we were planning on maybe just re-recording the whole episode. But I feel like that's never a good thing. Because you always kind of do it once and then you never catch the magic again. You're always kind of missing some things you missed in the first time. And you're glossing over things because you already talked about it. But
I'm going to be honest with you. I almost wish we were just re-recording The Conjuring tonight.
In retrospect, you're not wrong.
In retrospect, I almost wish that we were I wish we were, because
Annabelle is a movie.
Boy, I don't like
it. It exists.
Annabelle's a movie. It exists. It exists. It is a movie that we're gonna get into. But you know what? I would much rather just talk about the fact that I watched The Wiz for the first time today.
You're talking about anything you can to not talk about Annabelle.
I don't like being negative, Paul. Do you know that about me?
And honestly speaking, I actually feel very similar to you. I don't like being negative either. In fact,
I know you do.
I'm going to try to find a way to make this somewhat positive when I can.
It's not going to happen. I
don't know how I'm going to do it.
This movie's not good.
This movie is not very good.
This movie is not good. John R. Leonetti, please, I hope you never listen to this, because you should never direct another movie. Everything in your filmography is... This movie, Annabelle, is from the director of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, The Butterfly Effect 2, Wish Upon. Such a sterling
catalog of films. That's not a filmography I'm going to be going through, I'll be honest with you.
He's the credited cinematographer for the first two Insidious movies and The Mask. That's neat.
Unfortunately,
I wish that this movie had even an ounce of the characteristics of any of
That's
those.
true. My one sentence review of this is child's play without any of the fun.
It's I don't even want to compare it to Child's Play. I
love
like
child's play. That's why
Play.
there's no fun. It's just a doll. You put the
Okay,
dolls together.
look, here's where we're at, right? Here's where we're at. The year is 2013. The Conjuring comes out and makes a buttload of money. And WB's looking at everything. I always like doing the history side of all this. It's always fun for me. So WB is sitting here and they're like, we just made a buttload of money, but we can't force... Correct. How about this? A fuck ton. They made a metric fuck ton of money.
I'm all here for it.
Yes. So they made a fuck ton metric amount of money off The Conjuring in the summer of 2013. And they said, we need a new sequel ASAP. The problem is you can't force someone like James Wan to turn out a Conjuring movie within a year.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Just over a year.
So James Wan and WB were like, you know what we could do? We'll get this guy, Gary Dauberman, who had been like around the space for a little bit. And they're like, let's get this dude to come in and he'll write an Annabelle movie. We're going to make a movie about Annabelle the doll. We'll make a prequel. We can do it on the cheap.
It made sense.
And it'll be about the doll.
Because Annabelle was definitely...
I get
the
it.
doll was
I do.
very, like... Even though it wasn't a big part of The Conjuring, it was a very well-known and people talked about it a lot. So it made sense. That's why to go.
I mean, it was in all the marketing. Good. Look, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand why they wanted to do this. The problem is when you set out right away and you're like, we need this movie in just over a year, that means that you're not really locking down a script that you're super into. You're just making a movie.
Pretty much.
You're just doing it because you want to chase the success. And you're doing it on the cheap, though. This movie cost $6.5 million, roughly. That's the estimate. So this movie they actually shot the entire movie in order, by the way, like from beginning to end, so that every character would like go through their arc or whatever. And so the characters or the actors never had to try to re-experience the arc. They just wanted the actors to like go through it. So however they feeling kept going. This movie starts shooting in January of 2014.
Wow, that's really close.
To be released in October of 2014.
Quick turnaround.
It's a quick turnaround. By the end of February, they're like finishing the shoot in Los Angeles in the apartments. Allegedly, the set was haunted. I don't believe that. So that's okay.
True stories, PJ. This is all based on true stories.
This movie is made... They're all allegedly based on true events until this movie. So maybe not all of them. So basically what we have here is a movie that they're trying to capitalize on the Annabelle creation, or the Annabelle phenomenon. They want the money that The Conjuring made. They want to be able to continue this franchise and keep it in the zeitgeist. It's understandable. I get it. The problem is, for me, is that Conjuring 2 doesn't come out for another 2 years. And that is the next movie. I almost wish that they had waited at least another 6 months with this one to take the time to figure out what they
could have done. They absolutely could have done it, and they didn't. And let's just get right into it. Without any further ado, let's just break it down and go from there. We open up the best and cheapest way possible. We're going to just take a scene from The Conjuring and let you cold open with it, basically.
This is the most atmospheric scene in the entire movie because it's the scene shot and directed by James Wan.
Exactly my point is that it was the best and worst thing you could do because the opening reminded you of the first film and how good it was. And then after that, everything was not even close to matching the same tone at all. It was actually confusing, though, in a way, too. I remember the first time I saw it in the theater, I was like, wait, I've seen this before. Like, it took me a minute to go, oh, this is just a replay. I just didn't like the way I wasn't a big fan of how it opened. They could have done better. In fact,
I'm going to be honest with you. Get ready because they definitely do it again.
Just so you know, guys, I have not
But
seen
this
the
time,
prequels
that
or
time,
the other Annabelle movies yet. That's my first time through.
well, a
Prequel
prequel and a sequel.
Right. I have not seen either of them.
I'll say this: at least where it is, it's a good movie.
Okay.
So there's that.
Okay. It's actually one of the reasons I decided to do I want to do the Conjuring universe. Why I pitched it to PJ because I could finally actually catch up on the ones that I have missed. So we get that opening. The next really part of it, we get to see the church. We get to see Father Perez introduced. One of the best parts about the movie is Father Perez, and he's not in it very much.
Tony Amendola forever.
Tony Amendola is great. Obviously, I recognize him.
Tony Amendola should be.
He really should be. I actually fully agree with you on that. Every part about that shows him in it, I feel I was a little bit more engaged. It was him and Alfred Woodard, and we'll get to her as well. I was engaged a lot more when they were on camera, especially to the moments later on when, like you mentioned before, we went air when Father Perez gets the doll. That should have shifted it, but unfortunately, it was already too late because we spent so much time with this boring ass white bread, completely unexciting, uncharismatic couple.
Which is really weird because like Annabelle Wallace is the lead in this, and she's someone that in Peaky Blinders in The Tudors she was really good, and then in literally just about everything else I see her in, she's not great. But then she was fantastic in Malignant, a movie that I adored that came out last year. And then there's Ward Horton, who is nothing but a discount Walmart version of what's his name?
Eddie Redmayne
Beast.
Or Jonathan Groff.
Thank you.
You thought Eddie Redmayne, I was saying Jonathan Groff, but I have Jonathan Groff in the mind. That could be what it is. Either way, he is awful. He is boring. I wouldn't remember his performance if you say to save my life. It's just a bad performance all the way through. It's not charismatic.
Everything about
one
it is
sense.
bad.
He makes no sense when his line delivery is half the time. He does these weird like pauses. Like I remember one point during the movie, he walks in, hears his wife screaming, and he like sits there and goes, and it's
it's a weird performance.
What are you doing? What are you even doing? I don't know. We open up with Father Perez.
Look,
we open up at the church, and we have the neighbors, and we have the young couple with Eddie Groff.
Yeah, Eddie Groff. That's what we're gonna call him for the rest of the episode. Is Eddie Groff.
Yeah, I think Eddie Groff sounds better than Jonathan Redmayne. He went too many words. Eddie Groff. And we have a scene where like they get the neighbors send Mia to find the wife because the wife is hurting because they lost their child or whatever. We find out. The funny thing is, the neighbors are far more charismatic than this couple.
Well, I mean, look,
Brian Howe.
Brian Howe is one of the great character actors of our time. He's a dude that when you see him, you go, "Oh, I recognize him," and he always turns in like a good performance. He's done so much TV. He's done so many movies. The thing that most people are going to recognize him from, I know for me, is Gran Torino. He plays one of Eastwood's sons.
I remember that very well.
Yeah, and he's real good in that movie. But he plays Pete Higgins, and he's really fun.
He's really fun. Solid. He knows what his role is. He does it well. I want to see more. And then he dies right away. That shows you this movie in a nutshell. Anything good is not going to last at this point.
Which is really unfortunate because this movie is 98 minutes and it feels 3 fucking hours.
Oh my God, it does. We were texting back and forth watching this. It was kind of like, is this done yet? Is this done yet?
This is not a thing I do a lot of the time when we watch the movies. Like, PLD and I actually very purposefully don't really talk about these before we get on. But I was trying to watch the movie, and I hadn't seen this since theaters. And I was reminded very quickly why I hadn't seen it since theaters. This movie is boring.
So boring.
Like, it is so... It should be ashamed that it is so boring. Like, I'm all about a slow burn.
I love a good slow burn.
I am not about a movie that is on fucking... Like, this was like watching a car crash in slow motion.
That'd be exciting. That'd be way too exciting to watch, actually, comparatively.
That's what I'm saying. It's way less interesting than a car crash.
And right away, I blame the director for a lot of it because there's no tone to this movie at all. Like The Conjuring,
Leonetti can't.
Going
He
back to
can't
The
direct, dude.
Conjuring, real quick, I would say like The Conjuring itself is not like a story that's like amazingly like it's not an amazing story. You're not in depth about the story. It's
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 not
not
super
complex.
complex.
It feels kind of like a retro horror film, but James Wan directs the hell out of it. Has a great sound design, has a great tone,
Incredible performances.
performances. This has none of that. There's no performances. The sound
Literally none of that.
they are trying to create tone with a creepy soundtrack on occasion, and sometimes the creepy soundtrack comes in and there's no reason for it to be creepy at all, and you're like,
That's dude. That one of the most overbearing parts of this movie is the
yes,
use of music to the point that it's
it
comical
is.
and almost ridiculous. Like this movie, it should be better. It should 100% be a better movie because if you're gonna do an Annabelle film, it should be super atmospheric. It should be keeping you on the edge of your seat because the whole idea is that the doll is the thing that's
Right.
possessed, but it's not the doll. It's the thing
Right.
connected to the doll.
Exactly.
In this movie, just doesn't seem to understand that, and it makes everything else around it. It goes for every treat version of a jump scare or trying to create atmosphere. And you know why I'm so hard on it? Because there's two Annabelle movies that are clearly really, really superior to
I
this.
can't speak to that.
You haven't seen them yet.
I will say that.
Right. And
I will say really quickly, just kind of going back a little bit. I feel like they watched this movie. He watched this movie back, realized how shitty it was, and tried to lean on the score. I tried to push it up the score.
I
try
don't
to save
disagree
it,
with you
and
at
it
all.
didn't work.
It's really frustrating for me because I'm not someone who tries to look at something to compare it to the others, but like Gary Dauberman had never directed a movie. He wrote all three Annabelles, actually,
Yeah.
surprisingly enough. And I believe he also wrote
Okay.
Curse of La Llorona. I'd have to triple check that. Dauberman made his directorial debut with Comes Home, and David F. Sandberg directed Annabelle Creation. This movie being the one strictly stuck in the middle in the timeline and the way that it is almost more infuriating because it just shows, especially if you're watching it in order, like if someone decides to just watch the Annabelle trilogy in like the correct order, dude, being sandwiched between two movies that are really, really great, and then there's you. And that's kind of what this movie is too, in a way. This movie is sandwiched between The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2.
Quick two notes here. Fan check. Gary Dauberman actually wrote The Nun. That's what he wrote, not Chris Lerner.
Oh, The Nun. Thank you. That's the one. It wasn't La Llorona. It was
secondly,
The Nun. Thank you.
We didn't do the Annabelle trilogy on our trilogy rebuttal. Are we gonna put it on our real rebuttal? Maybe, I don't know. To see.
Oh, goddamn right we are. Conjuring trilogy and the Annabelle trilogy both are going to be talked about.
We don't know what we're talking about.
Unfortunately, both of them get hindered a little bit.
We don't know what we're talking about. PJ and I last night, when recording this, obviously we're recording this on a Monday. Last night we did a tier rebuttal.
So last week, for the good people at home,
a tier rebuttal on the PLD Product YouTube channel, where we had to do a rebuttal to a tier listing by our friends Benjamin Bateman, Andrew Guy from Action Industries. They did a tier listing of trilogies, and it was so god awful that we had to do our own version and show them what was up. But
yeah, there's a correct tier list and a wrong tier list, and the Action guys are clearly on the wrong tier list. We made some waves with it, but I think that our almost 3-hour rebuttal to their hour-long doing it was well thought out, well informed, and we were very passionate. And we talked all the way through.
A lot of fun we had that day. So go check it out. Go check it on YouTube. But anyway, back to the show. In this show, we get all right. So we meet the neighbors. The new couple goes in the new house, and of course we have there's no subtlety in the lead up at all. Right away, make sure you lock the door. You got to lock the door. And then the next thing you know, she's watching the Manson family on TV. And it's all like,
yeah, this is so weird. You're 100% right. There's like no subtlety to anything that's happening. So they go about this whole thing where she's like, you didn't lock the door? Why would we lock the door? Well, with everything going on. So then we cut to her watching the news about the fucking Manson family. And then on top of that, the terrible foreshadowing of that she's using a sewing machine and
Oh
it
my
keeps
God.
zooming in on the sewing machine
That's in my
needle
notes.
that's going because it's one of the automatic ones, and it continually for like a minute straight is the sound zoom in on the needle, the sound zoom in on the needle, the sound zoom in.
I have that in my notes.
It is so
And it
awful.
happens twice in the movie. They do it the first time.
I
There's no payoff
know.
because nothing happens because nothing. It never actually gets cut, and it does come back and it does it again, and it finally does, of course, do what you're expecting it to do. Is she cuts her finger, but it's like this little baby cut. She's like, oh, ow! Like,
And then she goes back
what
to
the-
using the machine.
Why is it sitting here like this?
I'm gonna say it right now. Mia Form, again, this is not Annabelle Wallace's fault, but Mia is one of the worst
I
characters.
hate her. She's
awful.
She's annoying, and no,
John's no
just as
better.
bad. They're both bad. They're a boring couple. They're
both bad.
Couple of people too. I just don't like anything with them.
Eddie Groff is not good.
Reeks. He reeks bad. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there on set, but I would be surprised if he stunk up. Literally stunk up the scene.
So basically, as you guys are probably well-intentionally figuring out, because we're laying this down pretty thick, right? So they get in this argument because he's talking about the fact that he's a nursing student and he's going to become
You're a doctor,
like a nurse
I was
practitioner
not paying
type
attention at that point.
a doctor.
What he was doing.
and he basically is like, they don't ever tell you it's going to be hard. Like, what? So he's complaining about the fact about that, and then Mia gets mad. She goes, "Are you talking about your job, or are you talking about our pregnancy?" And they start arguing, and he's like, "Look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Like, can we go back 2 minutes? Like, this conversation never happened."
I'm sorry. I have 3 kids. It's fucking challenging. It's fucking difficult. Sorry, Mia. Sorry, Mia.
It's a whole
My
thing.
wife will come out and tell you. She'd say, yes,
also,
my wife would say it's fucking difficult.
Things are not easy. That's just life. It's just life. So they're going through all this. They're setting up this weird tension for no reason. I mean, basically they're trying to set up. It seems like getting pregnant and like the pregnancy has not been going great. That seems to be the takeaway. And for whatever reason, this all goes on and on and on and on till they go to bed, right? Well, no, I'm sorry. Wait. There's an important part of this. Because he made her mad, he gives her a gift.
He gives her.
And we're introduced to the fact that apparently Mia collects dolls and has been waiting to get this rare, vintage, porcelain Annabelle doll.
And that's one ugly fucking doll. I gotta say that.
Why would anyone want this in their house, let alone in the nursery for their fucking child?
I'd be scared to death of it. My God, do you see this thing?
I'm scared to death of it, and I'm 32 years old.
Fair.
This doll is ugly as sin. It is a doll that I'm taking to a fucking rage room that I'm breaking with a fucking metal pipe bat.
Yeah, or just setting it on fire and watching it burn. Which is what they probably should have done.
I mean, that would also probably be good. I don't understand why anyone would want this in their house, man. I have to tell you a story real quick. It just reminded me of something. This is a weird tangent that we're about to go on. So go on this journey.
I'm on board.
So I went to get my haircut last week. Or I guess last week for me, 2 weeks ago for the listeners. Not that any of the timeline
not this movie either. So
I go down the street. Right. Look, I go down the street to go get my haircut because my hair is getting too long. I couldn't wear a baseball cap very comfortably. I was starting to get wings. It's a whole thing. If you know, you know. Like, if you like to wear a baseball hat, it needs to fit comfortably. It just does. So I go to get my haircut, and I go, and it's the same lady who always does my hair at the place that I go, and she's super great, and she always makes my hair look nice. I really appreciate it.
Right.
I really do. And every time we get into the small talk and stuff, and every time I'm there, she assumes that I'm off work, and I just tell her that I am, even though, no, I'm really not. I just work from home, and I leave in the middle of the day to go get my haircut. So I'm sitting there, we're making small talk, and she was saying that her her day off was like tomorrow or something, but she didn't want her day off to be tomorrow because her kids had no school tomorrow and her husband had a day off, and that meant the house was going to have people, but she was going to make them clean the house. And like, it's kind of like this fun interaction back and forth. And we start talking about
Right.
my job, and it comes up that I write movie trivia. We're talking about movies, and somehow we start talking about like classic movies and westerns and it's going on, and she goes, so your favorite genre must be like something from the 50s 60s, like you must like the 50s comedies, the 60s comedies. And I was like, actually no, my favorite genre is horror. And she was like, wait, really? And I was like, I love horror movies. Like, horror movies are like my bread and butter. I just love horror. And she's like, I'm scared of stuff like that. Like, I can't do horror, and I especially don't watch horror with clowns. And so my immediate thought as she's saying this is, you must be scared of clowns. This pivots so fucking quick. I almost got whiplash, and I was not prepared for where this was going. She is actually a huge fan of clowns and has a clown collection of like porcelain clowns and clown dolls in her house. I'm not making this up. Her husband was apparently like freaked out by this, and she had to put them all in storage, and she's waiting for one of her kids to move out so she can take the kid's room and create a clown shrine room. And I was having strong fucking Annabelle vibes from all this.
I almost wish this podcast was visual right now, because my face is the only thing that can actually properly display my feelings at this point. Not words. That is. Are you going to get your haircut by this woman again? I don't know if I will.
I mean, look, there's plenty of other places I can fucking go.
I don't think you want. I think you're going to end up on that shelf at this point.
She was talking about that she has one that she can, like, it looks like a trapeze clown, and like you can hang it from the ceiling, and I was like, no thank you. Like, I don't want to fucking walk into a room and there's a fucking porcelain doll Chinese or clown doll thingy.
No thank you. No thank you.
Why? I don't know why I said Chinese porcelain. I don't think Chinese porcelain's even a thing. Is it? Is it a thing?
I'm not a porcelain expert. I don't know.
My point is, I don't do things with creepy fucking clowns. Who fucking puts clowns in their house like that as a collection?
I'm not one of those people who are freaked out by clowns, but I have a collection of them.
I'm not either. But I'm not gonna fucking put them in my house.
There is Chinese porcelain. It's some kind of right.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, guys. I got a little worried that I said something and that I was being really insensitive. I feel better that Chinese porcelain's actually a thing. So thank you for looking that up and making me feel better, PLD. I probably should not use the term.
Yeah.
But the point is that there's a creepy fucking doll lady that lives not that far from me that has a house full of fucking clowns.
That's the next Conjuring trilogy, inspired by Conjuring trilogy, the Clown trilogy. That's what we're working on next. Let's move on.
I really want to rewatch Killer Clowns.
I do too. All of a sudden, let's do it. That's actually better than talking about this movie anymore. Let's get.
I mean, that movie is so good. Look, let's talk about Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
We'll get to there eventually. I promise you.
If we could... Oh, dude, I fucking love Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So look, okay, he buys her the doll. Why do you buy this doll? Why do you want this doll?
Spend like thousands of dollars on it, supposedly. Like, it's a lot of money, whatever it is.
I don't know.
I mean, he makes a joke like, we're going to be late on the rent and yada, yada, yada. It's a collector's item. It's marked up. I'm sorry. That's just no, thank you.
Well, and I'll say this. Like, I do understand that it is in, like, the universe of The Conjuring, because Creation definitely deals with this, too. Like, Annabelle as a doll, and you'll get to it when we get to it, is, like, a hand-created doll. You meet the doll maker in Annabelle Creation. Anthony LaPaglia actually plays him. Yeah. Which is dope. I fucking love Anthony LaPaglia. Dude is awesome. If you've never seen Empire Records, fucking watch Empire Records. So there is a rhyme and reason to it story-wise that I can get behind, but it's still like, especially because we don't know that yet, it seems so weird to me.
Just awful.
I would not want this in my house.
Not at all. But it's there. It's there in the house. and she goes to sleep,
But it's there.
and she wakes up to a scream. We see it. The audience sees it. Sees the blood splatter, and sees somebody going after the wife from next door. You see it pretty crystal clear considering how far away we are. But of course, when Mia wakes up, it
And
gets
how dark it is.
It gets dark. This was our first attempted real jump scare. I think, and it didn't really work that well for me. It's just kind of like, okay, next. So then we have this like.
What's really weird about this? Oh, I was gonna say real quick. What's really weird about this moment too is that like the whole setup is, well, it's clearly the fucking Manson family.
Right. But it's not.
No, but it's not. Like the whole setup of this is that the people who are doing this are clearly supposed to be Manson followers, and they're not. So why do we focus on the fact that the Manson family are out on Spawn Ranch? Why do we focus on the fact that the camera sits on the news report? We see the footage.
We're expecting it to be the Mansons. It doesn't.
And none of it matters.
It's I'm going to set up. It's a cult thing, but that's all you need to know. It's a cult thing. So Eddie Groff gets up and goes to take a look at what's going on. And it's a weird sequence where like they're both like, she's looking at it, she's like, don't go over. Oh, do go over. I would just call the police. He's going over. He's like, it's all sorts of nuts.
Why don't you just fucking call the police?
Because Eddie Groff says you don't call the police when you just think you hear a scream. That's what Eddie Groff said. We all do what Eddie Groff says. Apparently. It's Eddie Groff is a fucking idiot. And he makes that quite clear. So all of a sudden he comes home and it's bloody. Obviously he doesn't see any people in there. Obviously the Manson family's already gone at that point. So what does he do? Sends his wife back home alone. Pregnant wife back home alone. To a house where is right next door and could very well possibly be the next destination of two definitive killers.
Because guess what? Eddie Groff doesn't lock the doors.
Not lock doors. Because Eddie Groff is an idiot.
So, of course, because Eddie Groff is an idiot, and of course what happens is that the creepy cult people, one of them being the daughter...
Which you find out later.
...of the people that were just murdered. And again, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Annabelle Creation, this is all tied together.
And my question to you is like...
and
this is probably something maybe is answered later on. I don't even really understand watching this film, and maybe I just missed it, or maybe it's just vague. Like, I understood her wanting to kill her parents. Get that, as far as a culty, crazy cult thing goes. So we're just going to go next door, and because we're bored, we're just going to go next door because...
I assume that they go next door because Eddie Groff's a fucking moron, and so they were like, what? He walked into our house, so we're gonna walk into this house. They don't really explain. Like, they say that apparently this cult wants a soul, but the thing is, as far as all of us are concerned, and as far as I continue to be aware, the Annabelle doll is already got a demon.
Right.
Like, as far as I'm aware,
it doesn't look that way.
The doll.
In this movie,
it's very confusing to me.
Again, I can't count the prequel and sequels. I haven't seen them, and we're only going by what this movie shows. This is the first one. It shows that Annabelle Higgins actually possesses this doll. That's what it feels like. Is that she dies.
Actually, that is exactly what happens.
And that's how it's supposed to look.
I'm remembering now. No. Okay. I'm just gonna straight up tell you. I know you haven't seen it, but there is an explanation to it. So the character of Annabelle Wallace is the one who goes into the doll. But it's not Annabelle Higgins. Annabelle Higgins is not actually the character's name. It is the possessed state of this woman.
So a demon is in Annabelle.
This character is...
And then they decide to possess the doll.
Who is named something else in creation. Correct, apparently.
Okay, that's fucking stupid.
So, because this demon had the doll originally in creation. So, essentially, this demon is trying to get back to the doll.
Trying to go home.
Question mark? Yeah, but here's the thing: is this demon just like waiting around? Like how?
We're not going to make sense of this. We're not going to make sense of this, any of this.
This is like movie logic to the nth degree of I'm supposed to just accept it, but I don't understand.
And I guess the point where I just don't care. I'm like, all right, go nuts with your bad self. So she gets stabbed.
Sorry, I spoiled a movie that we're two movies away from, guys.
So Mia gets stabbed. By the creepy guy,
the creepy
cult dude. Gets saved by the cops because Eddie Groff can't do a damn thing, right? And it's like, she's put on bed rest. We have the scene where we get once again the subtlety of a hammer and a nail of save the baby before you save me. Gotta save her. If there's a choice, I'd choose her over me. Okay. Well, we know where this is gonna go eventually. So she's on bed rest for a while, and we get more sewing machine blood. This is where the second sewing machine thing happens. And I've already done with it the first time. And now the second time is like, just stop. Just stop with your goddamn sewing machine. And not only that, now we get the rocking chair going, and we get the door opening and stuff. More things are happening. It's so tonally dead. Because it's like, I don't understand what I'm looking at this point. It's all small potatoes, and then all of a sudden they get ramped up by having this fire start with the popcorn and everything else.
They spend so much time trying to create tension that just is non-existent. That's the biggest problem with this movie. That it goes all in on trying to be like, hey, look, all these weird paranormal things are happening in the Form's house now. Like, we're gonna have the thing catch on fire. Oh, the sewing machine bites her. Oh, music turns on. Oh, this. Oh, that. But none of it really works.
Just move out. And they do. Later on.
Well,
later on.
And they do. But we have to talk about. So the fire happens, and she ends up back in the hospital because the first thing you notice is she falls on her stomach, and we're worried about the baby, and the baby is born.
That's right.
From this. Like, legitimately, the next scene, the baby's just born.
And they go just move out. And they move out.
That's it.
But, like, they don't bother. This is something that's a peeve I have in a lot of movies. I know I just said just move out, but, like, it's obviously not a big deal. Don't worry about it. They have to sell a house where somebody was stabbed in, and the neighbors were killed. But they're able to go into this nice-looking apartment.
Right.
No problem. I mean, he's a student at this point, right? He's still a student at this point. Where are you getting all this money from? What's happening here? How is he able to do this so easily? Oh, it doesn't matter because it's a movie. Okay, fair enough.
So we do need to mention that the cult in this, by the way, is called
Disciples of the Ram.
Disciples of the Ram.
What a shitty name that is.
So allegedly, they're also in Annabelle creation, but I don't remember a lot being brought up about that. But I also want to say, aren't the Disciples of the Ram also in The Conjuring 3?
I believe that is the cult, and I think that's John Noble's involved in, isn't it?
Because I'm pretty sure that the ones who possess the people in the house, or the guy in the house, is also the Disciples of the Ram.
I do think you're right. I never put two and two together.
I'm just kind of putting this together, that I'm pretty sure that it is the same.
Which actually makes me happy. At least it's a connection to of some kind, dude. It is not well done here. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that we have to give Annabelle credit for then is it begins laying the groundwork for something that will eventually come around in The Conjuring 3. There are some things that are like, look, I'm being really hard on the movie because I don't think the movie is very good, but there are things about it that, like this, that are actually interesting and do kind of connect overall, and I don't hate the idea of the Disciples of the Ram as a thing. My problem is that in this movie specifically, we
No.
really don't know anything other than, oh hey, they offed this
They
couple.
want a baby soul, I guess. But yeah, nothing really. So they move out,
So
get some more with Father Perez, helping them. There's not a lot to it. They rediscover Annabelle. Annabelle also made her way to the new apartment. There's this big like dramatic sequence.
because they
Yeah,
tossed
she
her
tossed
out,
her out,
right?
or he tossed her out, or
Yeah, because she's like, I
right,
don't want the doll anymore. Because she saw
right.
when she was leaving, one of the things that they talk about is she looks over and
Annabelle
sees
holding Annabelle.
the Annabelle holding the doll and the blood drop that goes onto it and
Right.
goes into the eye, which is actually not. That's actually kind of a cool
It's actually
moment.
the best
I have
shot
to
in the whole
a
movie.
little
I
bit of
think
credit.
potentially.
Yes, I agree.
One other one, two other ones I liked actually.
And so she decides. We find out that Mia
Right.
no longer wants the doll.
Now they find her.
Mia no longer wants the doll.
They find her after everything.
Yeah, and it is a real
It's a
weirdly
dramatic sequence. And then I was just kind of like, all right, I'll keep her. It's all good. It was meant to be.
And fucking puts her up on the mantle
Like,
again.
really? That's what we're doing? What kind of... This is a supernatural movie because she has some kind of fucking supernatural hold over Mia. This doll has a supernatural hold over Mia. I'm not even talking about the demon side of it.
Right. Yeah, so they find the doll, and of course, once they bring the doll back inside, a bunch of paranormal stuff starts to happen again. Things are going not well. So the next night, Mia is having a problem with something like real malevolent that's attacking her.
Oh, actually, before we get there, we should actually
she
talk
believes-
about this is where she takes Leah for a walk. We see the kids on the stairs, and that sequence, which is always a very weird sequence because I expected much more of a payoff than we got. Like we meet the kids, and then we never see them again.
Yeah, there's
we
no
have like
sequence.
the drawings,
other than bringing up the drawings.
There's also where we meet Alfred Woodard at the bookstore on the way back, and she takes her for a walk. She seems to have this like really innate sense with the kid. It almost kind of reminded me, honestly, the sequence reminded me of, and you're gonna kill me because I'm reminding me of a much better movie, so it's not as good of it, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of The Shining. Like when they meet the it's the same type of thing where like someone who's more knowledgeable. I feel like she has some kind of supernatural sense about things, even though she doesn't really say it too much. But she has knowledge about things, obviously, and she takes a shine to no pun intended to Leah and gives her a book, and everything else, and she seems very charismatic. And the worst thing about it is that because Mia is so uncharismatic, it makes it seem like you're in totally different movies. And it's not Alfred's fault. Alfred's trying to
100%.
She's doing the work. She's just not getting any help.
Because she's Alfred Woodard.
Right.
She always does.
I was happy to see her. I started like, oh, okay, somebody's solid. Like I said, her and Tony Amandel, like, man, I'm like, okay, cool. These people I get. So
I really wish that they were like the leads of the movie. I said it off air before we started. Like that, honestly, the movie should start where Tony gets the doll
from the young couple
and is going to take it to the Warrens. But before it happens, he gets attacked. I think instead of the attack happening right away, the whole movie should be him trying to battle.
And with help from Alfred Wood.
That should be the movie.
100%. That would be a much better movie.
Right.
Because I care about these two characters. I don't care about the others. But anyway, you were back. They're facing she's facing the malevolent thing in the apartment. It's really solid, really doing its first damage. Now, I will say, this was the first and pretty much only really good jump scare of the movie. When she turns and she sees 7-year-old Annabelle, the door starts closing, and all of a sudden young Annabelle starts running and it bursts and then everything else. That was solid, and that's one of my favorite shots as well, which is good.
That was a trailer shot too. That was one that they really leaned on in the marketing because it's a great moment. It's a great shot. So she decides to go down to the basement of the apartment that apparently has no light, by the way.
Of course. And
because we're making a scary movie, there's got to be no light, and this demonic thing starts to follow her and attacks her. And this sequence is okay too. The problem is that it's so dark. You can't really, it's supposed to be atmospheric, but it's also
Yeah.
feels very cheap because they're just trying to build
And
suspense
that's
because you
it. And
can't
it
see
doesn't
anything.
make it doesn't work because that music doesn't work for the darkness scenes. And the whole elevator
And it,
opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing honestly just got tiring. You're like, okay, do something.
yeah. Well, and here's what's funny, right? This moment is kind of done again, not with an elevator, but a similar dark malevolent force down a hallway walking towards someone, super
Yep.
fucking creepy in The
Yep.
Conjuring 2,
You're right.
but
So it's
none by
much
James
better.
Wan, and
So
it's
it's much
actually super
better.
creepy. Yeah,
Oh, ridiculous.
because it's so good and so creepy in that with the Crooked Man. So I immediately was like, I feel like I've seen this. So she finally gets out, and she's running up the stairs, and there's a couple of good moments of there's clearly something in the shadows. And then you see the demon
Right.
for the first time.
But then afterwards, her cuts vanish.
After
Yes.
you see the hand.
Right.
After you see the hand like
Yep.
creeping up the stairwell thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
See,
some
I'm being
positives here.
positive.
Let me go back
Kinda.
to a negative, though. We get the scene with the detective, the second scene with the detective again, where he talks. This is where we talk about the disciple of the Ram. And the worst part about it, I think, is they actually use the word. They're trying to conjure something up. And I'm
Gee,
like,
I wonder why they put that in.
you just did the thing. You're wearing a T-shirt of the band that you're going to see, dude. That's what you're doing.
Detective Clarkland
Yeah,
is kind of a tool.
he's fine.
Just saying.
He's fine. He's a nothing character, really.
I just think that it's so funny. Like I know that this is part of the thing, right? Because when you make movies and stuff, there's always got to be skeptics and like these people on the outside who
Right.
don't know anything about it. But in a movie that's dealing with stuff like this, at least in The Conjuring, they make it a point that he would never be
Right.
involved in this
Yeah,
type of thing.
exactly.
And he's kind of played for last, but you're supposed to take this dude super seriously, but he also doesn't want to give
Right.
her any information. Like it's so oddly at tone with like at war with itself and what it's trying to do. And again, I think it's supposed to be like a tension thing for the characters, but as the
Yeah, me
audience,
too.
I'm just frustrated.
It's just awful. And plus, like honestly, the police he has no reason to give her any information. In the ongoing investigation, he's kind of like, yeah, here's your file.
Yeah, and then he
It's
just like gives it to her.
What? No.
I
No.
don't know. So
Uh,
yeah, so then Evelyn's the one who kind of decides to be like, hey, or is basically it's like maybe the apartment's not haunted,
Yeah,
maybe you
right.
guys are haunted.
Yep.
Or the doll. Like maybe this thing following you guys is because all of
Yep.
this is actually bad. And that's kind of the first thing is you'd think that they'd
Right.
thought about it already, to be
Yeah,
honest
you
with
think
you.
that.
When
Right.
it continued.
Oh God.
Just
So
saying.
we get another scene in the apartment where Mia gets attacked again, kind of. When they get locked in the room and the books start falling on, and that's the actually second best jump scare of the movie is when she's looking underneath the door, watching the books fall near Leah, and also Annabelle just kind of falls over in front of the door. It was a solid choice. Unfortunately, they followed it up with the worst fucking thing in the world. Annabelle floating. Like rising up.
I love the reveal of the demon.
Was that?
It. I do like that. I like the reveal.
Yeah,
of the
that's
demon
fine. But floating doll is one of the stupidest things I've seen in my life when it comes to any of it. And I can't, like, I can't. It's trying to be creepy. It's trying to be scary.
I know.
I'm laughing at it.
Yeah, and of course, you know, our favorite person, Eddie Groff, shows up, and he's kind of useless in the situation. So they contact Father Perez. And that's when Perez is like, hey, so demons actually attach themselves to things sometimes, and they really want a human soul. Which is basically... So what's so funny to me is that, like, the whole thing is essentially that this doll, right, is now this is the second time it's basically been a conduit, if you will, since creation. And the fucking demon finds itself back in the same goddamn doll, and it's like, well, now I need another host. Like, I can't stay in the doll forever. I need another human. So it's literally trying to take this other family member for whatever
any reason that they come up with. Because in the script, that's why.
It's just so dumb, dude. If you're a demon that has like unlimited power and can do literally all this other shit, why don't you just find someone who is clearly like not on the level of trying to figure out your shit? Like, this family is clearly going to people and being like, something's wrong. If I'm the demon, I'm going, I hope I get this doll somewhere 100%. Else.
Have your influence that way.
Like, give this to someone really fucking stupid.
Oh. So Father Perez takes the doll.
It just doesn't make... It's so weird to me.
It really is bad. No, don't. I get it. I am that way too. I'm just moving on because I just can't talk about that anymore. Father Perez comes, takes the doll.
No, I know. Look. And where is he going to take the doll?
Take the doll to the Warrens, potentially. Leads to the church for now. And then go from there to the Warrens. And what happens?
So he's in the car. The doll starts being weird in the car, similarly. Hey, I saw that movie too. It was called Annabelle Comes Home. So it's just like the car starts to act up. He gets out of the car, and the demon attacks him like right away.
Did you think he was dead?
I mean, they definitely make it lean on it because there's a fucking pool of blood off, like that's dripping off of camera.
I thought he was dead.
And then it cuts to the hospital, and you realize...
Yeah, I thought they were like... I thought my initial thought was that the nuns were like IDing the body or something. I really thought he was dead.
Well, I'm going to be honest. It would have been real confusing if they had, and then he shows up in Personal Irona.
Well, that takes place after this, doesn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. That would have been weird.
But for a moment, I thought that was because, again, I hadn't seen this since theaters, and I was like, I don't remember them killing Tony Amendola in this. And the funny thing to me is he's clearly taking this to the church to try to get it to the Warrens, right? And then he just never fucking tips the Warrens off that there's an evil doll out in the world. The Warrens find this thing through someone else. By a bunch of teenage kids or young 20-something kids being the ones who reach out to them. Tony Amendola isn't like, hey, so this creepy fucking doll that this weird fucking family that may or may not have been part of a cult and were involved in cult stuff, not of their own doing, but a cult was around these people, and there was a doll, and it definitely tried to kill me, and the demon is out there, but it's attached to this creepy porcelain doll. He doesn't think about telling anyone?
Fuck, dude. All right, pause 1 second.
What is that?
I didn't want to mute because I don't want to connect my fuck my connection up again like last time.
I don't. You're fine. You should have just left it in. Just leave it in. Look, it's fine. They heard you cough. It's fine. We're gonna continue. You fucking old man. I love you, but
do it up. All right.
Anyway, but here's the thing about that that's funny to me, right? Tony Amendola has no problem spilling all this information about Annabelle in possession to Linda Cardellini in the Personal Irona. But as far as I can tell, he literally tells no one else that actually could do anything about this, which is super fucking frustrating because I really like Tony Amendola. This moment when he gets the doll, this should be the movie. This movie should start from the like doll floating weirdness. This is where the movie should start. The cold open should have been the family having a weirdness in the apartment. The doll raises up. You see the demon. Everyone freaks out. Tony Amendola shows up, and he goes, look, I'm going to take care of this doll. That should have been this whole movie. He could have gotten the Warrens to be in it. Like, you could have had them cameo. You could have done anything. The movie starts to become interesting for about 5 minutes before they basically take him off screen.
Basically. I mean, he's not dead, but they, for all intents and purposes, kill him for the rest of the show. Rest of the movie.
It's fucking weird. Like, to me, this is the movie I want. I want to see the movie about a priest dealing with the demonic possessed doll thing because that's a battle of faith. All these movies are basically about faith at the end of the day. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
In the Conjuring one. Like, the Conjuring is all about people's faith and the way that things are, and I would much rather watch that movie because that's
100%.
interesting.
100%.
Why did they not lean in on it?
I don't know. They had it right there in front of them. They had a good actor playing a good character, and they just let it go, and we wanted to see more of Eddie Groff. We didn't.
No, we didn't want to
I
see
know.
more of Eddie Groff. The studio
That's what I'm
decided
saying.
we wanted more Eddie Groff.
The studio wanted us to see more Eddie Groff and be
I wanted more Tony Amendola.
justice for Tony Amendola.
Justice forever for Tony Amendola. If you guys have never seen The Mask of Zorro, please watch The Mask of Zorro. He's really good in it. He's also in The Legend of Zorro as a totally different character who is also a priest in that one. He's a father in that movie.
Very strange.
Anyway, I'm not going to focus on that.
We are almost
too
done
hard,
with this
but
movie.
That's a thing that's...
I'm actually happy we're almost wrapping up with this movie.
You say that, but... Did you know that in 2016, Tony Amendola was the narrator of The Land Before Time, Journey of the Brave, which is a direct-to-video Land Before Time film that was the 14th film in the Land Before Time series?
I didn't know that. That feels like it's a kid, like his grandkids wanted him, and he's like, I could be in Land of Time. Yes, Grandpa. Yes, Grandpa, be in that movie kind of thing. Okay.
I'm so confused. I've never in my life thought about that. Also, I did not remember that he was Geppetto in Once Upon a Time. I checked out of that show after a little bit.
Me too. I checked out. I can remember what season. I like the first 2 seasons.
Also, anyone who's not... I did too. Also, you guys should really, really watch play Star Wars Fallen Order, rather, if you need a Tony Amendola fix, because he is so good in Fallen Order. He plays Eno Cordova, and he is one of the coolest Jedis that we've ever gotten to see. And he's basically in the entire thing, so you should definitely.
There you go.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway, sorry, I'm told I just don't like this movie so much that I'm trying to get us to literally talk about it. Dude, I fucking brought up The Land Before Time. What am I doing?
Desperate. You're a desperate man, PJ, and I get it. Because I am too.
I brought up the fucking Land Before Time 14. What am I doing?
We are wrapping this up because we are almost done with this. We are almost done. We get back home. This is another thing we have. This is what I have in my notes now. Mia beats the baby up, or kinda beats the doll up after the doll wants the soul, writes all over the ceiling. She has this moment where she starts beating the baby up, or railing the doll, beating the doll against the crib, throws it to the side. And all of a sudden, we're made to believe that it was actually Leah, the child. And that moment was actually horrifying. It was horrifying.
Yeah.
And then they just back off it.
Also, real quick, I need to go back a little bit before all this, because you're right. This is all very fucking terrifying and creepy, and actually kind of just weird, just as a general thing. Can we just talk about the fact, though, that Groff goes and is like, hey, I'm going to go talk to the father, and the father's like, dude, that thing, it was real powerful. I sensed it. Yeah, no shit, you're in the hospital. Yeah, no shit, the demon actually is like super creepy and powerful.
Right.
And put you in the hospital. You don't have to say that out loud. We know what happened. You're stupid fucking writing. Stupid fucking writing.
Not showing. Or showing and then telling.
Anyway, yes. So he tells him that apparently the demon just really wants Mia's soul because it wants Mia's body.
So that's why.
Anyway,
she'll give him the soul in exchange for the baby because that's already been set up previously, and that's why Eddie Groff's got to do that too. So she beats the doll, and it looks like it's the baby. That's a creepy sequence. Then of course you can't commit to that in this kind of horror franchise. Obviously, so they back off, and you find out it was not the baby. It was still just a different doll. And you're like, oh, well, that takes out some of the tension. We have them.
Yeah, that's the right move, though. I'm going to be honest. I'm not in for the movie.
Actually, the funny thing is, because I had forgot about this whole sequence, I totally did. I wrote in my notes, baby beating is a choice.
Baby beating would be a choice. I'm glad that it
Right.
does not go down that way ultimately.
It
at
was.
the end of the day.
I think what it was to me was like I was glad that they did go away from it, but at the same time, it's kind of like I was completely back because at least that got me out of my like, oh fuck, what is this all of a sudden? Then it's like it wasn't. It was like okay, we're back. That
Also, can we talk
God.
about like so clearly the demon pretends to be Father Perez. She opens the door and she doesn't immediately fucking close it. She knows this dude's in the hospital.
Yeah, that actually was a good shot. At least
What
that was a
the
good shot. I
fuck?
did like that.
Oh no,
But
it's a great
yeah,
shot.
it's so stupid.
But like, stupid woman, close the goddamn door. Like, hasn't anyone ever told you to
No
close the
Panic.
goddamn door? Do you not
This
listen
guy-
to enough Panic
it's-
at the Disco? Like, come
To be
on,
fair, it's
man.
19 whatever we decided it was, 1957 or whatever. 68. Oh, sorry, 67
68.
is right.
68.
67.
No, 67. You're correct.
So
67.
Panic Disco is a long time from debuting.
Yeah, because 68 is when
Correct.
they get the doll.
71 is the Conjuring. That's what it is. We looked at the time frame because we're professionals. The timeline is professional.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Fuck.
This movie fucking blows.
Let's-
So here's the thing. Bottom line, this
it
movie
does.
fucking
Let's
sucks.
finish it out real quick. She goes to sacrifice herself. Of course, that's been the whole thing because Eddie Groff won't let her do it. She yells at him, and Alfred Woodard goes and sacrifices herself instead. So she gives the demon her soul, just instead of Mia, and that's partially because of the story we forgot to mention earlier when Alfred had a nice little conversation with her where he learned that Alfred Woodard was in fact responsible for her child's death when she was involved in an accident. I mean, it's kind of cool that Alfred gets to sacrifice herself. He kind of knew that's going to happen to a degree. Something like that had to happen because she was important. She's kind of an important actress to have, so she knew she had to have some kind of pivotal role. So I was waiting for it to happen like that. At the same time, though, like, does that even make any sense at all? The whole thing doesn't make sense. I'm kind of like, so
No.
she killing herself
No.
means that everybody's safe again. Wait, what?
They think that if they kill themselves with the doll, that it'll do this or whatever, and I'm just like,
No.
no. It makes zero sense.
It makes sense
This
at
much
all.
sense.
So
This
get
much
through
sense.
that. You go back to church, and there's still creepy music playing. Where there should be no creepy music playing, because at this point, it's happily ever after for them, right? Like, they're all good. Everything else,
Correct.
there's still creepy music playing, and finally we get the outro, so to speak, where the old
Well, my favorite part though is like, so you
Right.
bring up there at the church, right? And they definitely bring up though, like Tony Amendola's like, so what the fuck happened to the doll?
right,
It
right,
just
right.
disappeared, and no one's seen it. And they're like, yeah, doll's gone, no big deal. No one's fucking
Don't
thinking
care.
about it. They've
Done.
just moved on.
Not like the doll disappeared.
And again, Tony Amendola doesn't think about fucking
Well,
telling
it's not
anyone.
like the doll hasn't disappeared and already shown up, and then just showed up surprisingly somewhere else. Why would they be worried about it? I know.
That's my point. Right. It's not like this thing definitely fucking disappeared the first time and showed up at their apartment again. Like,
Yes.
I'm worried. I'm Bradley Cooper in the
I'm
Ink
worried.
Team. I'm worried. It's one of my favorite
That's
line
good.
givings of anything is when they meet him for the first time.
I'm worried.
I'm worried. Anyway, I rewatched the A-Team
I have to
the other
watch
day.
that.
That movie is so great. Guys, we deserved
did.
an A-Team sequel.
I gotta watch that
We
again.
really did. We really deserved an A-Team sequel. Joe
You might have to
Carnahan
do Joe
fucking
Carnahan
rocks.
filmography.
Joe Carnahan is currently my most.
I'm okay with
Dude,
that.
we should. We
I'm okay with that.
definitely
I'm fine with
should.
that.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna totally turn this into a Joe Carnahan podcast over
Fair
fucking
enough.
Annabelle. But yeah, we get this outro. 6 months later, the doll is at an
Yeah.
antique shop, and a mother buys it as a gift for her daughter, which is of course
The
the daughter
nurse
that we
from the first
meet
film.
in the first Conjuring movie.
There we are.
And
that's the best
how
part
it
of the movie?
ends.
It ends.
And then we get it. Well, actually, here's the other thing. Then it does this whole like title card thing, and it's like, and now the doll sits in the Warrens' house, and it
bad.
pulls up like the slow camera
Yes!
zooming in on it, and the music's building,
Lovely.
and then it just cuts.
My
and that's the
son,
movie.
who doesn't watch movies at all, and never watches horror movies, never watched anything. I was watching the. I pick him up. I came home and he was watching like the last 12 minutes while he was like just getting a snack and stuff. And he saw the ending part and he goes, huh. I was expecting like some kind of jump scare or movement or something like that. I think we all were waiting for something to happen, but
Your son is a smart man because we're all sitting there waiting for literally anything to happen in this movie. Literally anything. That's the whole movie. This movie is 98 minutes. Again, I said that earlier, but it feels 3 hours. I waited for literally anything to happen in this movie that worked, made
look,
sense.
we are
anything.
talkers. We are very big talkers, and when we love something, we gush about it, right? Our Scream 2022 podcast was 2.5 hours long. We are barely making an hour on this one right now so far, and we're done with the movie. That should tell you what you need to know.
Because, well, and the thing is we covered everything exactly as it happens. That's the thing.
There's just not much we want to go. We don't want to deep dive into it. We did deep dive into it.
Well, so you know what's fucking crazy about this? We did. And I do have some stuff to bring up now, because now we're talking about it. What's fucking crazy is that this movie gets fucking critically panned, right? Coming off The Conjuring, it gets really critically panned. But this movie's made for $6 million, right? Makes $257 million on a $6 million budget.
Absolutely a success. We love it.
Yeah, but I almost have to be happy that it did so well, because we got two really good like Annabelle movies on both sides of this, because they do the prequel, and the best part is that they literally looked at that and they went, "We can't fucking do that again." I remember when they announced it. I remember when they announced Annabelle Creation, and they're like, "We're doing another Annabelle," and all of us went, "I'm sorry, what?" This movie comes out 3 years after the last one. They took their time with it. And then they were like, and it's also going to be a prequel because we have to retcon our own prequel. So it is a prequel
to a prequel.
And I can't wait to talk about it.
I can't wait to see it. You're pumping me up on it.
But my God, man.
So I'm going with no expectations.
I think you're going to love it. David F. Sandberg, obviously for me, is like, he's 100%. Very, very talented. I'm very excited to talk about it with you, because I have a story about this. I'm just going to tell it here, and then maybe I'll bring it up again when we see it. So, Annabelle Creation came out in 2017, and it was not super long after I had met Mark and Christian. So it's like the year I've known Mark and Christian for about a year and a half.
And Christian Harloff, if you guys
I met him,
familiar with this movie Trivia Schmoedown.
I wasn't gonna, if you're not familiar with Mark and Christian. So I've known him for a bit. I've hung out with him a lot, and I'm at the critic screening for it with them. And literally before we walk in, I get a phone call from my mom. My dad had a heart attack and was in the hospital and was gonna like go in, but my parents at the time were living in Sacramento, and there's not a lot I can do about it at that point, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty much rocking a hard place. Can't really go anywhere. I'm 6 hours away. I'm not about to jump on a flight. They told me not to. I'm an only child. I don't know if anyone knows that. I mean, I know you know that, but I'm an only child, and they were like, just live your life. And I remember, like, Christian and Mark walked up to me because they saw me outside the AMC Burbank 16, and we were going to go sit in it together. And Christian looked at me, and he goes, "You all right?" Because I had, like, just put my phone down. I was like, "My dad just had a heart attack." And he goes, "And you're still going to the movie?" And I was like, "They told me to go." And Christian, I will never forget. Christian was like, "All right." And we went and saw the movie together. So I saw Annabelle Creation literally as that happened. And then afterwards, Ellis was like, "I'm taking you to the Comedy Store," because he was doing a show that night. And he's like, "You're coming with me." And I was like, "All right." And so I went with him. And that was my night. But I saw Annabelle Creation under the weirdest fucking circumstances. But the movie actually it fucking owns. I cannot wait to talk to you about it. I thought Lights Out was really good. This one's even better. And like, I think that the thing that I'm most excited about is I just think Sandberg is very, very talented. And I kind of said that earlier. Like, Shazam is really great, obviously, too. But I think they made all the right moves to be like, we know we fucked up, but we made a shit ton of money, and we can't really we really can't roll the dice and fuck this up again. Like, our movie has to land with people. We can't make something bad. And there's a reason that Sandberg came out of this getting Shazam. There's a reason that he continues to, like, be very popular to work with, and people like working with him. He can do a lot on very little, and he does it well. Like Lights Out is such a perfect example of a dude making a low budget movie as his directorial debut, and like just knocking it out of the park. That movie's fucking terrifying.
It is. I love that movie. It's just really well done.
It really is. I think we talked about it. I really would have loved if Lights Out had somehow like retroactively been kind of added in, because it 100% feels like a Conjuring universe type thing. But I think that creation also helps is that they don't really tie themselves to
the overarching stuff,
like a real life narrative. Yeah, like it's kind of doing its own thing, and I think that overall benefits the movie. I cannot wait to talk about this movie with you. I know I'm already talking about it, but like,
you think this is the Annabelle creation podcast?
Sorry,
that's okay. I get you. You know, I'm glad you're gushing about that. It makes me happy. I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait for you to watch Comes Home too. Like, I'll say this. I think Annabelle creation might be the third scariest movie in the entire franchise.
Really?
Maybe even second.
Okay, fair.
I think it's really fucking scary in like the best ways. It's really creepy.
I like that. I like where I'm hearing that.
Annabelle Comes Home, maybe the second best movie.
Wow, that's some good, strong words there, man. That's some strong words.
Annabelle Comes Home is so much fucking fun. It's an actual like haunted house movie. That's what it's like a fun house, haunted house horror movie that they just go all in. And I think the thing you're going to be most excited about, and I don't know if you know this, McKenna Grace is the lead.
Oh, wow. Okay, I did not know that.
She takes over as Judy Warren because the girl who played Judy was too old at that point. So McKenna Grace plays her, and she is so excellent.
Okay, I like that. Good call. Good call, man.
I know you. I know what I'm doing. I'm hyping it up because I also wanted to make sure we get over the hour mark.
We are over the hour mark. We're good. You know, we actually do have to do our ratings, our rankings.
Thank God. Oh fuck, that's right. I
forgot now we rank everything from 1 to 11 here in the PLD projects. As we already turned up to 11. I will let you guys know that we did The Conjuring last week, and PJ and I both gave it a 10.5 out of 11.
10.5.
So Annabelle. Where does Annabelle set for you as a 1 to 11 out of 1 to 11?
Guys, this movie fucking sucks. It like single-handedly almost makes me dislike all of the movies in this franchise just because its mere existence is so bad. And that's saying something. Like, normally I'm not a person who's like, man, that movie's so bad it tanks everything else, but like this movie's really fucking bad. This movie gets it's gonna get a very weak
2. It's funny actually. I was thinking the same thing. I was gonna go to 2, maybe 2. Reason why I give it 1 for Tony Amendola. I give it 1 for Albert Woodard.
That is literally my reasoning, is that I'm giving a point each for Tony Amendola.
I will give it a 0.5. I'll give it 2.5. I'll give it 0.5 for that one jump scare that I did really like. That's actually...
Yeah, but then you have to take that 0.5 away because fucking Eddie Groff
Done.
exists.
We're back down to 2.
Yeah, I mean, look. Eddie Groff almost tanks this whole movie.
He is that bad. And Mia and Annabelle Wallis is not much better.
I don't blame Annabelle Wallis though. She's very.
I'm not saying like, she's not talented. But in this movie,
no. I agree with you. You know what else she was good in? It's a small role, but speaking of the greatness that is Joe Carnahan,
she was in Boss. She was great. Yeah, I remember that. Into that too. Yeah, she's good in Tag also.
Yeah. I mean, she was also not the worst part about The Mummy that exists with Tom Cruise.
Bad about that. That she was not one of them.
Yeah, but look, all I'm saying is, guys, this movie sucks. It sucks bad. This movie.
PJ and I are some of the most positive people on films that you'll ever meet. Even though you might not think so after hearing a couple of our takes on Screams 2 and 3, and now this film for sure. But the fact that we're giving this a 2 that says so much. And I stand by it. I have to stand by it.
It's funny because everyone talks about how positive I am all the time. Like that's what I've become known for, is just being like a very positive individual when it comes to movies, and like everyone thinks I love everything I see, and it's just because I never focus on the stuff that I don't like, because I just don't see the reason to. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no reason really to focus on stuff that I'm like not a big fan on, but when we sit here and talk about it, there's a reason we're doing it. And I'm just like, man, this movie fucking's not good. And I don't like being hard on it. I don't even like saying that I think a director's not a good director. Dude is not a good director.
He has very little right in this movie. I can't not think of much right in this film.
Everything.
So that's where we stand.
I wanted to love it, man. I was hoping that this was going to be one of those times that I went back to it, because I had this with the Matrix movies. I wanted to go back and I wanted to be excited and rewatch it and be like, man, you know what? I actually really like this more than I remembered. I wanted to be pleasantly surprised. Instead, because of the existence of two much better Annabelle movies that I watch way more frequently than I ever go back to this one, it just made me dislike it that much more, because it was like, man, you know how good those movies are? Boy, this movie fucking stinks. The other
two movies. This is awful.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. It was like I literally wish I was watching anything else.
From two mediocre white dudes on film, we are telling you that this film is far less than mediocre. It's just bad. Just bad.
Don't ever. We tell you to be mediocre once a week. When this is always over, stay mediocre. Never sink to the level of Annabelle.
That's way below mediocre.
Please, you are better than Annabelle. Literally, everything in your life, everything you're doing, who you are as a person, you are better than Annabelle. You can never sink as low as Annabelle.
Don't do it.
Never, ever sink to that level. Don't do it.
With that being said,
just don't.
PJ, my friend, where can the folks find you?
Anywhere else far away from this fucking movie.
Myself, the same thing.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week, guys. Can't wait until next time when we talk about The Conjuring 2, which is definitely a far better film than Annabelle. It's got James Wan back. That right there gives it about 10 more points. I can't wait for it. Never underestimate the power of mediocrity. Always stay mediocre. We love you. Thank you so much for showing up. We appreciate you.
Good night, friends.
We'll see you next week. Bye now. I'm going to add one more tag right now before I completely stop this recording, and I'll just throw it in later on. I'll edit it down. Starting now, all right, take that again. One more thing.
Way to go,
one more
motherfucker.
Thing. PLD Project has opened up its Patreon. Now it's going to open up. It has opened up. It is live as we speak. Patreon.com/PLD Projects. We have a lot of great tiers for you. PJ is included in one of them. If you ever want to hear these two mediocre white dudes get into a blue box and fly around the galaxy, that's what you want to go. So PLD, it's Patreon.com/PLD Projects. Find a couple tiers, whatever tiers right for you. I promise you, all the money I make is going right back into the podcast and the streams and just cost benefiting the podcast. So,
and my table because I like food.
Exactly. So much love, guys. We will see you soon. Take care of yourself.